One club that has done business this week is Manchester United, and he was unveiled at the stadium. I'm, of course, referring to Casemiro. In terms of stats and figures, though, we called in some friends of ours, goals per 90, Chung Han and Kish, to break it down for you and what we can expect to see from him before he makes his debut in the Premier League.
Thank you so much, Adam. Well, United have truly been crying out for a defensive midfielder for a very, very long time now. Issues in the middle of the park have been very evident to see for a very long time. And this summer, though, they've finally gone out into the market and got themselves a brand new defensive midfielder. And the guy that's joining them is a relatively big name as well. Well, not even relatively, pretty big name. Casemiro joins from Real Madrid with 5 Champions League titles under his belt.
And Casemiro joins with 2 main responsibilities. Number 1, to stop attacking transitions, and number 2, to help build up play. So let's have a look at Casemiro from a distribution point of view. If you compare his numbers to Fred and McTominay, his pass completion rate is almost similar to the 2 midfielders at Manchester United currently. Progressive passes, he is much better though. 5.05, and completed passes into the final third, 6.35. Much better than Fred and much, much better than McTominay. So what we essentially have here with Casemiro is a midfielder that is much better at distribution compared to Fred and McTominay, but it's not elite enough as a ball progressor.
And we understand that, though, because at Real Madrid, his main task was to never necessarily progress the ball. Because you had Luka Modric, you had Toni Kroos, who was able to do that incredibly well. They were the 2 world's best ball progressors. But Casemiro's duty at Real Madrid was far more defensive-oriented. And if you take a look at his numbers from a defensive point of view, you will see why. Casemiro, 40% of his pressures help Real Madrid regain possession. And that is a big leap from Fred, who is 25.5%, and Scott McTominay, 26.9%. In terms of tackles won per 90 minutes as well, Casemiro better than Fred and McTominay, 2.25. In terms of aerial duels, he's almost similar to Scott McTominay, but far better than Fred. In terms of ball recoveries per 90 minutes as well, he's better than Fred and McTominay once again. So essentially, Chun Hang, we've got a midfielder here, from a defensive point of view, is incredibly world-class. But what this does not say is whether or not he will solve United's ball distribution problems. And that's the question that I have for the pundit, really. How do United solve their build-up issues, their ball progressing issues from midfield, even with the arrival of Casemiro?
Thanks to both of the guys there. A new show to look forward to this season as well. You heard the question. This was recorded before the victory over Liverpool, I should add. What do you reckon about that, Casemiro?
Well, I do think he's an improvement on what they have, no matter what 2 they're playing in midfield. I know he plays with Fred in the national team in Brazil, but...
It's a great success as well, actually.
Yeah, I think they've only lost 1 game, haven't they?
Yeah, they've won almost all the games bar 2. Yeah. 1 loss, 1 draw.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think he's a top player. He's got great experience. The only thing I would say is that's been in a hugely successful team in a totally different league. I think he's a good player, and I do believe that they can play through him in building up possession, and also he's very good at breaking up play. But like we've seen previously from players that have come over from another league, sometimes the Premier League can creep up and bite you on the backside sometimes.
It's true.
Well, I just look at it, I think, you know, perhaps Man United are not a club that, you know, buy players that, you know, you're looking to have a resale and things like that. They've bought someone for now. You know, his age and it's quite expensive as well. So, obviously, the manager has highlighted certain positions and the board have backed him. I said it earlier, I know if I was on Twitter, the Man United fans would be going for me. But the Glazers have backed their managers over the last 4 or 5 times. They've backed him, and they've backed him. The amount of business they've done since he's come in and are trying to do. So he's highlighted a position that they think is a weakness. They've gone and done something about it. But they've signed someone for now, not for 3 or 4 or even longer years on.
So you feel the Glazers have actually backed the managers? I think it's been about £1 billion they spent since Sir Alex retired. Look, 9 years ago.
Van Gaal wasn't shy. Mourinho wasn't shy. Ollie spent a lot of money, and then a new guy's gone in, and he's had 4 or 5 months to assess that team. That's what's so disappointing about the start. He didn't just come in pre-season and go, oh, he knew he was coming in 2 months before he did, and he must have seen every single Man United game, mainly on video, but he must have known what the strengths and weaknesses was. It's not like a manager coming in mid-season and having to deal with the squad. He had time to deal with the squad, so he's highlighted, they've spent heavily, and now they want to return. It was a massive game for Man United tonight. They've gone and got the result. They go to Southampton at the weekend. If they can pick another one up, they're sitting in the top half or even better.
Yeah.
He's
had a full pre-season as well.
Yeah.
And I am surprised that they started as badly as they have. I thought under Ten Hag they would be a lot more organised. But going back to the owners and the Glaziers and backing them, yeah, I think undoubtedly agree with you, Alan. But where the fans are upset is that the Glaziers have basically taken over Manchester United on borrowed money. Okay, they've leveraged it. The wealth or the income of the club has paid the interest on that money on behalf of the Glaziers, and the Glaziers have taken a shed load of money out of the club in dividends and bonuses and payments. I think that's where the disquiet has come from.
Well, the debt remains the same as to when they bought the club all those years ago.
Right.
Because they've taken out all the dividends and
Yes.
so forth. So that's created a big issue. And
Yeah.
perhaps the funds to buy these players are just taken out of the club themselves as opposed from the owners. When you think of the days of Roman Abramovich and some of the other ugly
So
ups.
if you
But they
mentioned
could
Abramovich.
have took the dividends and exit and everything else and not bought any players.
That's also true.
Yeah, but they bought players.
Yeah. And you mentioned
And managers.
Abramovich there. Abramovich has put basically his money into the club. Okay, his money. got to be careful here, of course. But that's the perception. And what's truly gone on and going on at the different clubs is difficult to uncover.
I also think that regardless of what they've done with the money, if Man United were being successful, the fans wouldn't be.
They
wouldn't be moaning too much about the fact that there's money coming out of the club. And the only thing that I would say, that knowing a couple of people and reading between the lines, is that they haven't really invested in the stadium or the training ground, which I think is in need of that. But as far as investing in players, you cannot argue and say that they have absolutely backed every single manager that's worked under them.
What about the strategy of transfers for this window specifically? Because it started with Frankie de Jong, who's worked with the manager in the past, and Barcelona had their own issues. Doesn't seem like it's going to happen now, given how late it is in transfer window. It might, you just never know. It went to Adrien Rabiot. That fell apart. He's another midfielder. And now it's come to Casemiro straight after a 4-0 away loss to Brentford. It just feels more like a reactionary signing, which may come good. But from what we've heard about how much they're paying for him, and if he was to fulfill his contract as a 4+1 year, if he stays for the 5 and his wages, the outlay will be about £140 million. That's a lot of money for what could be a reactionary signing.
Listen, no resale.
It's huge.
Very low resale.
I absolutely think it's massive money for someone who's 30 years of age. But the only thing I would say is we don't know whether Casemiro has been on the list with a Rabiot or with Frankie de Jong all this time. Do you know what I mean? It's like people were talking about Arnautovic as if that was a reactionary panic buy, but we're being told that they've been looking at him since April. So, listen, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but at the same time, you have to say Casemiro is an experienced player. Will there be any more additions? I actually do think there will be, and I also think there needs to be some exits out the door, because you can't have that bench tonight at Man United with those type of level players that are not playing. I mean, Alan said it earlier. Be interesting to see how the training goes after that, because you can't have players with big influence and big egos affecting what the manager wants to do going forward.
Final question, we have to wrap things up pretty soon. September comes. Where will Cristiano Ronaldo be playing football? Gary, what is your prediction?
Yeah. Well, I sat on this sofa for the opening weekend of the season, and I said that I feel that Manchester United would be better off without Ronaldo. I don't think he's what they need. Been a fantastic player in world football, and I was also questioning his attitude and what that was doing to the mood around the camp. So from a United perspective, I think he needs to be playing somewhere other than Manchester United.
Do you expect that to happen? That was my question, though, because its needs and wants are very
No,
different.
you
things.
asked me where he's going to be playing. I haven't
Yeah.
got a clue where he's
Okay,
going
fair
to be
enough.
playing.
Will it be at Manchester United?
It might be in the reserves.
It might be in the reserves.
No, I think that whoever can afford him, that's the one thing. You know, who can afford him? Will Man United help in that way? I.e. help out?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. But I think with only a couple of days left for the window, I think he could well be still at Man United.
I'm going to say away from Man United. I don't think someone like Ronaldo is taking sitting on the bench.
The ego thing.
Not even just the ego. I think he believes he should be playing, and to be honest, for quality, he probably should be. Whether it suits what the manager's trying to do going forward, I don't know. But I don't think he'll be sitting around on the bench at Man United.